In 2001, if you asked Australians where they shopped for groceries, the answer was predictable. You were either a Coles person or a Woolies person. That was it. A retail duopoly so dominant, it made real competition feel like a rounding error. Together, Coles and Woolworths controlled more than 80% of the grocery market. They didn't just set the prices, they defined what normal grocery shopping looked like. The weekly specials, the shiny catalogs, the points programs that promised a new toaster if you spent $5,000. It was all perfectly polished, totally predictable, and quietly expensive. And then, out of nowhere, came a strange new player. No ads, no music, no rewards cards, and definitely no deli counter. Just a small, bare-looking store that asked you to pay a coin for the trolley and pack your own groceries. At first glance, it looked like a joke. But behind the cardboard box displays and private label products was one of the most strategic retail invasions Australia had ever seen. That company was Aldi. When Aldi first landed in Sydney, Australians didn't know what to make of it. The stores were tiny, the branding was weird. Products had names like Blackstone, Desan, and Brannings. Your go-to cereal? Not there. Your favorite milk? Forget it. And the layout? Basically a maze of pallets. This shopping experience was more like raiding a budget bunker. But Aldi didn't care about first impressions, because it wasn't trying to win a beauty contest. It was building a retail machine designed from the ground up for one purpose: efficiency. Where Coles and Woolies carried 30,000 plus products, Aldi offered just 1,500. Over 90% of them were private label. That meant Aldi could control the supply chain, eliminate brand markups, and deliver prices that undercut everyone. The stores were nearly identical across the country. Cheaper to build, cheaper to manage. Shelves were not even needed. Most products were just left in their shipping boxes. The staff was also minimal, trained to do everything from checkout to cleaning. And yes, even the chairs at the checkout lanes, they weren't for comfort. They were to speed up scanning. Even the coin and trolley system saved money. No need to hire people to wrangle carts. Every detail had one goal: cut costs, pass savings to the customer. At first, Aussie shoppers were skeptical. We're brand loyal, we like our habits. And let's be honest, Aldi felt a bit off. But slowly, quietly, the tide began to turn. People started comparing receipts. They realized Aldi wasn't just cheaper, it was dramatically cheaper. For families, it wasn't just a discount, it was a weekly savings that mattered. And then Aldi did something unexpected, something very un-German. They got funny. The brand leaned into its outsider status with cheeky, self-aware marketing, ads that made fun of the big guys, packaging with jokes, seasonal products that felt weirdly cult-like, moo tubes instead of yogurt pouches, middle aisle special buys that ranged from power tools to inflatable spas. It was part bargain bin, part treasure hunt. And Aussies, they loved it. Aldi wasn't just cheap anymore, it was also charming. Meanwhile, Coles and Woolies were caught flat-footed. Their giant stores were expensive to run. Their partnerships with big brands made price cuts difficult. Their loyalty programs starting to feel a little tired. They tried to copy Aldi's model, trimming product ranges, launching private labels, running Aldi-style campaigns. But the truth was, Aldi had already won the perception war. It was no longer just the weird discount shop. It was a legitimate third force in Australian retail, leaner, sharper, and more in tune with the cost of living crisis. Today, Aldi holds over 10% of Australia's grocery market, a number that continues to grow. And while that might sound small compared to Coles and Woolies, remember this: it got there with no loyalty program, no big brand partnerships, and a business model that the giants never saw coming. But that quiet rise wasn't always guaranteed. In fact, for years, most Australians saw Aldi as the quirky outsider, cheap, a little unfamiliar, and not quite part of the big leagues. But then everything changed. When the 2008 global financial crisis hit, belts tightened across the country. Suddenly, value wasn't just nice to have, it was essential. And Aldi, with its no-frills approach and focus on everyday low pricing, found itself in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. What once felt foreign now made perfect sense. Shoppers looking to stretch every dollar discovered Aldi wasn't just affordable, it was surprisingly good. And that's when the real shift began. In blind taste tests, Aldi's private label cheeses, snacks, and pantry staples began defeating big-name brands. Its cheap yet award-winning dairy range, like the $3.99 Emporium Selection Persian Feta and $5.99 Parmesan, won multiple national gold medals at the Australian Dairy Industry Association Awards. Then came the GFC boost. While global retail struggled, Aldi's sales soared. A similar trend was seen in the UK, where Aldi grew revenues 26% in 2008 during the credit crunch. In Australia, this translated into surging customer numbers and growing market share. By 2015, Aldi had broken through the 10% grocery market mark. It had eclipsed older discount chains like Franklin's and Billo and solidified its place as the third largest supermarket. Geographic expansion also accelerated. After conquering New South Wales, Victoria and Canberra, Aldi opened its first stores in South Australia and Western Australia in 2016, accelerating further growth. And Aldi didn't rest on its laurels. Over the next decade, it quietly upgraded, improving store layouts, adding fresh produce sections, widening meat and dairy offerings, and introducing organic and plant-based lines. The Just Organic range became a cult hit, delivering quality and ethics without a hefty price tag. Self-checkouts were introduced in select stores, though traditional conveyors with seated cashiers, renowned for speed, remained core. Behind the scenes, logistics were modernized, yet the core model stayed lean, no flashy weekly specials or loyalty programs. That said, special buys, the legendary middle aisle treasures, became a marketing masterstroke. Electric scooters, power tools, air fryers, wine fridges, you never knew what you'd find. It was part treasure hunt, part FOMO magnet. These limited run deals drove foot traffic and social media buzz, making everyday shopping an adventure. Aware of Aldi's quiet momentum, Coles and Woolies scrambled to respond. Woolworths rolled out its budget essentials line, Coles launched Coles Own, and later Coles Finest to capture budget and premium shoppers. Both cut staple prices, upgraded private labels, invested in automation, and doubled down on loyalty tech, trying desperately to claw back ground. But they had a structural disadvantage. They couldn't replicate Aldi's lean, focused cost base. Offering a dozen peanut butter brands or rotating thousands of specials adds complexity and cost. Aldi instead kept around 1,500 core products, over 90% private label, saving money through supply chain control and less waste. That made their stores faster, more efficient, and more profitable per square meter. And Aldi didn't just beat the big two on cost, it started beating them on quality too. Over the years, Aldi's no-name products quietly racked up awards, from budget wines that shocked sommeliers to cheeses and chocolates that outperformed household brands in blind taste tests. Choice Australia and CanStar began handing Aldi trophies like it was a regular guest at the Oscars. Suddenly, the butter with the unfamiliar label wasn't just cheaper, it was better. That shift in perception was critical, because once people trusted Aldi's private label products, the whole model clicked. You didn't need 12 kinds of peanut butter if the one Aldi offered was top tier. You didn't miss the brand names if Aldi's version tasted better and cost less. By now, Aldi wasn't just a discount grocer, it was a disruptor, one that made brand loyalty look expensive, unnecessary, and maybe even a little foolish. So, what started as a humble German chain with a coin slot trolley became the unlikely hero of millions of Aussie households. Aldi didn't just survive in the land of supermarket titans, it outsmarted them. With humor, with hustle, and with ruthlessly low prices.